Today I have a settlement to present here at the National Park Visitors Center, which ended up being one of my favorite builds because of the location's uniqueness, and hopefully I can inspire you to try a build here.
Stay in my arms. Don't ever go.
This episode of 𝗖𝗛𝗧𝗧𝗏𝗧 Settlements, we are visiting 𝗖𝗛𝗧𝗧𝗏𝗧's cousins at Far Harbor's DLC Island. I noticed the northern part of the island is kind of condensed with friendly settlements, so in a role-playing sense, Visitors Center is the first step to actually reclaim the island from the fog. Visitor Center is by far the most underrated location in the game, so I only had like 3 builds to use as inspiration, and hopefully my build can help you inspire to try a build here. If you're new to my channel, then one thing you should know up front is that aesthetics and theming play a huge role in how I build. Since I am a vanilla builder, I don't have a lot of building pieces in my arsenal, but I believe that deliberate intentional placements of environmental architecture is visually more interesting than kind of just spamming out building pieces. The theme for this build specifically is based kind of on the 19th century American frontier, so imagine a more primitive, rustic feeling with an emphasis of nature. Everybody knows that Far Harbor gives off a damp, foggy atmosphere, so I would say there's no point in trying to make a clean build here, and that you should kind of embrace how messed up the island is. So to really start off the tour, we have the main entrance, which does get used quite a bit, and I like how the tree partially covers the gate. The entrance sign is made with the ball track ramps to form kind of an archway. And stationed nearby we have the Bunker Hill Caravans, and I have no clue why they travel all the way out here, but they speak in caps so we don't complain. This initial area of the visitor center is a parking lot, and I set it up as the main residential area because the relative flatness levels out the height of the housing units and allows NPCs to traverse freely. Notice that I sacrificed a lot of open space here, and it's because of the caravans. I imagine this location is recently established because of the geography, so it doesn't have a strong agricultural sector. So trading and supply lines are the main lifeblood of the town. One of the trading posts is a simple gun store where hunters can resupply and arm themselves. I mean, the store isn't really that important because Far Harbor is pretty quiet. It's fundamentally a safe and peaceful place. Not much goes around here. And it's actually a huge misconception that settlement attacks are frequent. I mean, I would even go as far as to say that it's institute propaganda.
Baby, you'll sit inside.
Listen to a sweet lullaby.
After you've gone and left me crying.
So while I was building here, I came across the realization that I'm just not an interior decorator. That's something I'm fundamentally a little weak on, and I think the interiors look okay for this particular build only because the settlers are basically living like hobos out here, but any clean builds with an emphasis on standard furniture placements I am totally clueless on, but that's something I'm going to try and improve on for future builds. Anyways, the second stories of some of these buildings have watchtowers which overlook the street, and I'm always surprised that NPCs can actually reach here. Okay, I'm gonna pat myself on the back here, but I like how this specific building I'm in opens up to the balcony of the adjacent structure. In fact, this entire section can actually be traversed all the way to the main courtyard, which you'll see later. So the placement of the residential buildings allow a pathway on the inside of the settlement, but they also form a outskirts section where it's kind of obscured by the trees. If there is one design you can take away from my build, keep the trees because they provide a unique atmospheric tone where the settlement feels a lot more isolated than it really is. So trees aren't really something you see in the typical settlement, so I always try to preserve what makes a location unique rather than try to sanitize it. At the end of the day, most builders are going to scrap everything in sight, so I'm just presenting you a different perspective on how to build. This building used to be a hotel-style structure, but has since been converted to a barn since pack Brahmin consistently spawn inside, so it actually looks pretty intentional on my part. This is the governor's cabin, and here I used the wood support floors as a base and then added some barn pillars and ball track ramps as additional support. The governor's cabin in theory overlooks the entire settlement, but in reality you can't see shit because of the fog. The cabin that is situated on top of this roof is an example of barnacle building, where you can build off of pre-existing structures. Barnacle building helps not only with maximizing building estate, but it also helps your builds feel more natural. The obsession that will lead to my eventual downfall is collecting these cute little picture frames scattered across the island. If a sinister local deity offered up a single picture frame for the lives of the locals and their families, I hope they know what answer their governor would take. I mean, all that to really just say I do like collecting picture frames. The main purpose of the governor's presence is to monitor the situation, particularly with the settlers. As a settler-based builder, I'm always observing my subjects and how they really interact with the build. Overall, I'm pleasantly surprised with how well they move around, and I think this time I won't need to feed them to the beast. Settlers have a reputation for being kind of stupid, but I found that adjusting my layouts to be more walkable and path-friendly helps them with being able to naturally disperse around the settlement more, and it's definitely an idea that I want to break down more in a future video. Up here is another watchtower, this time looking out towards the wilderness. Back in the Commonwealth, a high tower post like this could look out in the distance, but on the island sometimes you really can't see anything at all unless you really hone in. If you are enjoying the build, please consider subscribing and commenting on what specific attributes you prefer to see in these build videos, whether it's specific design choices I make, or a more relaxed, no commentary slow walkthrough, or just hearing my unfiltered true thoughts that I should probably keep to myself. In terms of lighting, I went for a more reserved approach, so there aren't that many lights to begin with, but whatever I did use ended up being more natural lighting, such as campfires, lanterns, fire barrels, and glowing bottles. There are definitely some singular light bulbs that I placed throughout, but I wanted to ensure it wasn't overbearing against the natural fog, and you'll definitely see how that looks in the night tour at the end of the video. At least for me, I like to intentionally build structures close to each other so that they sort of mesh together, because normally the buildings I create aren't that interesting by themselves, but when combined with other buildings, not only literally but thematically, then I think it makes for a cool settlement. This structure IRL is a Ramada roof design, and there's a number of interesting sets you can do with this one specifically, but personally I set one end as a produce stand while at the other end is a restaurant which I call 𝗲𝗛𝗔𝗣𝗧𝗘𝗥𝗦, which is based on a local individual near my library who feeds the homeless. While it's sweet of her to do that, her actual cooking has taken kind of a nosedive, so I've been told she's currently called 𝗲𝗛𝗔𝗣𝗧𝗘𝗥𝗦, but that is besides the point. This 𝗲𝗛𝗔𝗣𝗧𝗘𝗥𝗦 takes all the game that the local hunters bring in and makes delicious stew or roast out of them. The entire kitchen area here is built off a single barn prefab. Prefabs are useful because they are less performance intensive than if you were to just replicate it with individual parts. So if you are looking for a larger settlement build, you should utilize your prefabs because they save time and performance. Next to 𝗲𝗛𝗔𝗣𝗧𝗘𝗥𝗦 is the armor store. This build I straight up gave up on the store names because I'm not that creative. But anyways, this store is kind of an afterthought not only to me, but to the settlers because you really don't need armor to live in Far Harbor. According to public occurrences, and from my good friend Deacon, the island is rated one of the top 10 safest places to retire in. Yeah, Far Harbor settlements. Complete pain in the ass because of the constant attacks, but I don't particularly mind the weather though. I actually think the island's more dramatic weather makes for a more visually interesting building experience than typical Commonwealth settlements. Here's something you have to understand. When I'm creating these long-form settlement builds, I spend literal days not only building, but just scanning the location for improvement. I'm basically living inside the settlement, so fog and rat storms are just something one acclimates to. A simple farm is implemented because personal headcanon, hunting and imports are the primary food sources, and there's going to be a future build where crops will play an important role to the theme itself. One experience with Visitors Center is the progression from this kind of shack that an old man lives in to an actual stronghold filled with life. Notice how I preserved the original structures. It gives off a more authentic tone, but it also helps mask the feeling of being exposed. The archway that leads to the secondary exit is pretty unique, and you could probably do something with that attached board. Here's the secondary reserve farm. It's a pretty simple design, and I think I'll switch out the crops to razor grain or mute fruits so it looks more like a house garden. I placed a gun rack to the little signpost just as another idea for you, and I'll probably add something to it in post. This is the other end of the bridge walkway that extends from the residential buildings down in the parking lot. The workbenches and the chair fit just inside the location's natural settler boundary, so you often see NPCs going up here and using them. The one thing that really blows my mind is that settlers actually have no issue walking back and forth between the bridge. They're pretty stupid typically, but I wasn't very familiar with their game. Right now you can actually see Longfellow walking down while the guard is finishing their post at the watchtower. I'm going to show you how far the bridge extends and how it really ties the sections of the location together. You can actually see the armor store is built underneath the bridge here. I experimented with an enclosed style bridge, but ended up switching to the open version because I liked how the walkway is kind of embedded next to the trees, which again just adds to the natural tone of the build. And before we tour the main lodge, I'm going to show you my experience with barnacle building. One thing to note are the decals, which are 2D textures overlaid in the environment. Visitor Center has a ton of these, specifically inside the main lodge, so if you place anything on the floor, the dirt decals will lay on top of it. So that means for me, I abandoned a cleaner restoration and went with a middle-of-the-road scrappy restoration. I preserved the counter here because it's unique, and you'll see after this segment how it looks with a revamped store design. You can convert this open space as another floor plan by campfiring a single floor piece as an anchor point, and then snap the floors off that start. If it doesn't work, just readjust the anchor floor until it all fits. A beneficial aspect to this floor plan is that settlers will navigate through this floor area. I don't know if it's the fog or something, but the settlers here are actually pretty smart. They've consistently been shown to move in places I didn't know they could do. Anyways, you can do the same anchor point trick for the balcony section, it's just going to be a little more tricky this time around. Of course, walls are pretty easy to implement. Just a simple ashtray or a campfire can do the trick. Roofs are the most tricky and time-consuming. You can set ball ramp tracks together and then shimmy it in the gaps of the rooftop. And you can either place them from inside or outside, whatever is easiest for you. So that's how you barnacle build the main lodge. Overall, it's a little difficult to figure out, but hopefully I gave you all a good head start to work off of. The entrance is filled with items that are vulnerable to settler movement, caravan stampedes, and settlement attacks, but I actually haven't had to fix this as much as I thought I had to. I think only 3 or 4 times, and even then it was just like a couple of items. Uncle Ken is the original owner of Visitor Center. There's this whole quest his nephew gives you to convince him to try to leave the settlement, but like, this place is cooler. Visitor Center is for the OGs, you can take your sensitive ass back to the harbor. This specific store is where hunters can stock up on general supplies and also drop off game from hunting trips. I ended up not overlaying the floor with the built pieces from earlier because of the decal issue, but I also like the unique red carpeting. I also blocked out the windows to give off a more sheltered tone to the store. The owner here has a wandering personality trait. The big fella loves to go on walks whenever he can. And right here I utilize the empty board to show off some desired ingredients from the outside. So wildlife plays an important role within the settlement. There are local small game to catch such as chickens and rabbits, and to help hunt these we have a pair of canines. You can purchase dogs, wolves, and mutant hounds from a friendly super mutant named Erickson.
Oh, hello again. Did you need something?
I was interested in buying one of your guard dogs.
Which one would you like?
We also have friendly rat stags. In vanilla you can trap a glowing radioactive variant. With the Manuel Creation Club set, you can also keep a friendly quantum rat stag. I call the blue one Pinky and the green one Perky. An observation about friendly rat stags, they will chill out with the settlers at nighttime and sit wherever the settlers congregate, which I didn't know was possible. Just having some more tamed animals around I think helps with the idea that this particular location is more grounded in nature than the usual settlement. So on a related note, there's the hostile wildlife, the kind of freaky deakies that bump in the night. So you know when shit's about to hit the fan, when at first the settlers start mobilizing out of nowhere, they'll say some ominous shit like, I hope you'll free us from our shackles, or like Soink Scoob, we gotta get out of here! I don't know, just some really like concerning statements that make me kind of nervous.
How exactly do the fog condensers keep you safe?
The island creatures are territorial, and the fog is their territory. They go where the fog goes, and when the fog stretches into a new area, they come to claim it.
I'll help you repair them.
Sounds good. If we work together, we can get them fixed faster.
Got a chill in my bone.
You're going down. Slot machine's supposed to finish. Go away. Choke on your own line, you bastard. No more sunshine in my heart. No more sunshine in my heart. Lordy, how I'm missing you. Miss the joy of kissing you. No more sunshine in my heart. No more sunshine in my heart. No more sunshine in my heart.
Hi.
Thanks, Mainlander.
I'm glad I was able to help.
Don't think we take it for granted. Glad that's over.
So for the rest of the lodge, I really didn't do anything special. It's mostly a general utility space. So upstairs we have a medical center, an office, and a barber shop. I would say that if you are planning to make a build here, I would focus exclusively on the lodge, because I think you could make a really interesting player home out of it. I love the fact that in this build, when you leave an interior, most of the times you're greeted with a skyline of trees, which on this sunny day looks particularly nice. A good reason why you keep unique attributes to locations such as these trees is that, like, in your head, the experience of building such a large settlement kind of stays with you. Here in the balcony, we have a guard post that overlooks the courtyard. Now, the courtyard is important because it acts as the main caravan unloading area. I alluded to this many times before, but this build layout and theme almost exclusively caters to the caravans. The local suppliers come and go sporadically, but every couple of days we have a caravan day where an entire stampede of suppliers from the Commonwealth arrive all at once. and when they're done congregating in the courtyard, they all leave together, sometimes causing a traffic jam. I like to think they group up together like this because it's safer on the island to do this, but in reality, they are reaching for the same spawn point, which is the boat in Far Harbor. Now, of course, it only takes one supply line to integrate into your web of resources, but having multiple supply provisioners filling up the streets I think really helps with making the build feel alive and lived in. I think just the way the town is L-shaped makes it comparatively easy for traders to come in and out. Overall, I try to experiment and focus on a different aspect of settlement building for each location, and caravans are definitely something most builders don't factor into, but it's something I really wanted to focus on for this particular build. This section of the settlement is a series of individual shacks. I like this one in particular because how I use the scaffolding ramps to make kind of a zigzag shape. And I also like how the shack itself is built on top of a rock. Besides the view overlooking the sea, the shack also has stairs that lead back to the main entrance. Instead of scrapping the cars from the parking lot, I just moved them to outside the settlement boundary in case an idea for them came up. Since this shack is built adjacent to the main lodge, that means it's within the natural settler radius, so NPCs will often rope around to use any furniture inside. I did end up liking the fact that the windows of the lodge mean you can kind of peep inside and out between the two buildings. Just a little known fact here, settlers can and will use bunk beds. I even add a little step to help them float up. Again, settlers are a lot smarter than we give them credit for. This area is for the cats and a surprise guest I might bring into a future video. This is the tailoring storefront. It's where hunters can bring in pelts and hides and get them converted to clothes designed for the island and its climate. I definitely tried to juxtapose how cramped and packed this particular clothing shack is compared to how neat the armor store is. As a settler-based builder, playing dress up with the residents is really fun and it helps me create a story about my build. In my previous Covenant video, I focused on utilizing clean pre-war outfits for the mid-century aesthetic, but this time around I dressed the settlers out in island fashion that focuses more on practical survival than civilized comfort. So this place in particular leans more on leather-based material with more face covering. Overall, part of the fun with build themes is figuring out how the settlers would dress up as, and if you look at my previous build videos, you'll see that aspect being explored frequently. Here is a guard post that has a clear view of the sea as well as whoever comes to the main entrance. Right over here is another spot where settlers converge at night, but frankly I got lazy here and didn't do much to decorate. The fog can be pretty annoying, but on some days it looks absolutely gorgeous. My favorite being the god rays that kind of poke out through the fog and the trees. This shack here I left bare bones, so I can leave you with a thought experiment as to how you would personally decorate it to match the rest of the build. Here's another prefab for you. This specific building is used to store collected hides and pelts, as well as some little containers that you have to bring back manually. Because the island's map is condensed into open air locations, there's plenty of little unique items that you can drag back to any of the settlements. This specific guard post is nothing too special. Admittedly, I didn't put too much effort on this specific end of the settlement. It's just like I have this perfectionist mindset to just keep working on something, even though in my head, like, it'll never be perfect. So I definitely should have uploaded this video months ago. Here I have a spot to keep a trap in case I wanted some Brahmin or a friendly rat stag. I'm actually not sure what would happen if you were to trap and tame a unfriendly creature, since Far Harbor settlements get attacked often enough. But anyways, here's this secondary entrance here, and you'll definitely find some random dead things nearby. It's a little strange, but it's a regular occurrence, since establishing a settlement this deep into the island is bound to attract some unfriendlies. Which brings me to the this particular event while building up this settlement. Shipbreaker. I'm sure you heard of her, but here's kind of a cutaway to explain it to those who don't know.
I don't know if you've heard of that fog crawler that old Longfellow's been hunting. We think she might be somewhere nearby. He calls her Shipbreaker. Been tracking her for years. So far, she's been too wily to catch.
How do you know this thing is nearby?
Old Longfellow eventually noticed that when this monster is close, radios go kind of haywire. Don't understand it all myself. Interference from the critter's radiation, some such thing.
I hear that you've been trying for years to track down an ancient fog crawler.
That's right. Shipbreaker, I call her. Wily old beast. I put all the harbormen on the lookout for her.
I'll be sure to let you know if I run across her.
I wish you better luck than I've had. If you do spot her, I'd be grateful if you come and fetch me. She's taken more than a few friends of mine over the years. Or if it's my time, I just as soon meet my end at her claws as any other way.
You can rest easy, now that Shipbreaker is dead.
Don't know about resting easy. but it's one less thing to worry about. Funny thing is, happy as I am that she's gone, I think I'm gonna miss her in a way. Walking in the fog will be a bit less interesting now, but I don't have to wonder if she might be lurking behind the next rock. Kept me on my toes, she did. For that I'm grateful, in spite of the sorrow she visited on the island. Here, you may as well have my trusty old harpoon gun. I was saving it for delivering the killing blow to Shipbreaker, but now you should have it.
This particular section of Visitor Center is what I call the Outskirts, which is characterized by small isolated shacks adjacent to trees. This one in particular is a hunter's shack where some weapons and traps are kept and where some of the meat is processed. I wanted a more primitive style of shack, so I just sunk it down a little more so the ground itself is the soil. And I sound like a broken record, but I really just love how the trees make the settlement look so unique. I would describe Visitor Center as the most Fallout 76 feeling settlement that you can work with in the vanilla version. The Herbalist Hut is the vegetarian option shack, where the herbalist collects various flowers to make traditional medicine and non-meat diets. Another thing I love collecting is just emphasizing a botanical collection, and maybe one day I'll do a garden, like cottagecore type settlement. Right here is another guard post. I really like using the railcar structures as they fill up a lot of space horizontally, which helps kind of create like a settlement fence border, but realistically on the island there's no railroads, so it feels kind of weird using rail cars here. But I do like how this tree is squished up next to the rail car, and it also has some blight for the herbalist to occasionally collect. The very last thing I want to show you is this hidden little closet. It's meant to store some preserved goods for emergencies, such as a harsh winter or a sudden halt to caravans, but I really like how hidden this section is. And to come back to the entrance, here's a shack that super mutants will pretty much always spawn in. They really don't spawn anywhere else except for this specific shack. It's like they rented this place on Airbnb or something. Well, that's pretty much the entire build for you. I'm sure I'm missing a couple things here and there, but that's pretty much the gist of it. Just my general thoughts about this build. I think it's one of my favorites of all time, out of all the ones that I've done so far, in my opinion. Structures, furniture, items, population, and utilities are all attributes that I focus on for my builds, and I was really able to hone in and tell an environmental story with those. And because of the fact that Visitor Center is on the island, you never really know what's going to happen day to day, whether it's an influx of caravans or a fog condenser attack or a trapper raid. It's really, with these long drawn out settlement builds, you have to actually like enjoy being in the settlement to actually finish it. And if I had to change anything about the build, I would probably redo the interior of the main lodge into something more specific. And if there's anything I would recommend, I would say save the trees. For those who stayed to the end of the video, I'll just try to explain what my future plans are for the channel. I definitely have a habit of saying I'll make this specific kind of video, but never actually end up doing. So for now, let's just say I have 3 to 4 smaller settlement builds lined up for this year, and then I have some more educational building material ideas lined up, and also some non-settlement ideas as well. Maybe finishing up a full pacifist permadeath run through. I also did tease a larger settlement project earlier in the video, but don't expect that too soon since I really want to flesh out my idea and kind of do it justice. Let me know in the comments what kind of videos you're more excited to see from me, so I can kind of gauge on what ideas my viewers would like to see from me. I'm going to leave you with the rest of this night tour, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and hopefully I'll see some more builds here at Visitor Center in the future.
Thanks for agreeing to help.
I just want to trade a few things.
I'm scraping by. Every day, another harbor man leaves the island.
Fist was weak leader. Strong plan to be rich.
Children of Adam are dangerous. Don't trust them.
Old Longfellow. Bah! He is a small child next to me. Huh? Mitch sent men to help. They won't let me do anything anymore. Bah! In my day, everyone does the captain dance. Maybe 2-3 times a year. So don't get no ideas. Yes, I am doing well. Goodbye. Tell them this is my farm. Stop fiddling with everything. Mainlanders think the island's easy. We'll see. Everyone moaning about the fog. This fog is nothing. Much worse when I was young.
Please take this heart of mine before it starts to cry. It holds a love that's true. what you're doing to me. To my heart's worse you. Now, dear, I must reveal I give my whole life to a love for only you. A love for only you.
When all the world is a hopeless jumble and the raindrops tumble all around, heaven opens a magic lane. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney top. That's where you'll find me. Somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly. Birds fly over the rainbow. Why then, oh boy, can't I? When all the clouds darken up the skyway, there's a rainbow highway to be found. Somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly. Birds fly over the rainbow. Why then, oh, why can't I? If raindrops disappear and make a blue sky, if sunbeams make a rainbow in a new sky, if happy little bluebirds fly beyond the rainbow, why, oh, why can't I? I'm crossing you. Wherever you're going, I'm going your way.
forever, the way I've always planned? Or am I just building castles in the sand? I can picture tomorrow, and everything looks grand, but I'm always building castles in the sand. Like a child, I'm as helpless as can be. I watch the tide sweep my castles out to sea. Am I holding my true love each time I hold your hand? Or am I just building castles in the sand?
Will our love, honey, last forever? You know, the way I've always planned. Or am I just building castles in the sand? You see, I can picture tomorrow and everything in it looks grand. But it seems I'm only building castles in the sand.
Like a child, I'm as helpless as can be. I watch the tide sweep my castles out to sea. Am I holding my true love each time I hold your hand? Or am I just building